And away from that, the president is having a 3-day working tour of Nakuru County, and today it was a session with the Council of Governors. Tomorrow he will be having the 9th ordinary session of the National and County Governments Coordinating Summit, and on Sunday we'll crown it all with the church service in Nakuru town. And we have our very own JJ Kuria, who has been keeping tabs since early morning, and now we are live with John Jacob Kuria from Naivasha. Kuria, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. We're coming to you live from Naivasha, indeed, for the inaugural retreat between the executive and the county governments or county governors, largely to deal with the issue of devolution and indeed ensuring that devolution is funded as should be. Without wasting time, let me bring in the governor for Tharaka Nithi County, that is Muthomi Njuki, to just give us a brief of what this meeting is about. Karibu sana, Governor.
Thank you very much. From the onset, I want to point out that this is a very unique meeting. A summit that has always happened for a few hours in State House today is happening in a relaxed environment where we have had the president since this morning from 8 o'clock to now. He's seated, and we are talking to one another, not talking at each other, on various issues in every department, where we have a conversation on how we can move forward, having the two levels of government meet at a level where they can be able to deliver services despite some of the functions being held by national government and other ones by the county government, because we are serving the same wananchi, and therefore there's need to be synergy. Currently, we are discussing a very pertinent issue of how the counties and national government have been utilizing a lot of resources, taking each other to court, where the counties and the national government both are using taxpayers' money to pay for lawyers on an issue that would have been resolved by having alternative dispute resolution by the intergovernmental technical committee. And therefore, we are saying going forward, we need to talk to one another so that we don't spend a lot of taxpayers' money on legal issues. In our agenda to the people of Kenya, we never told them we will make lawyers very rich with their money, which is meant to be doing other things that would benefit the monarchy directly. Therefore, we're finding it a very useful engagement, a very good summit. We have issues in health, we have issues in water, we have issues in agriculture, including distribution of fertilizer, we have issues in sports, and all of them, by the end of the day, will be in one resolution that is going to be read for what we have agreed on.
Very quickly, these are conversations largely that you have under IBEC. Tell us about the uniqueness of having this meeting in Naivasha than having the conversation during the formal IBEC meetings.
Well, this is an extension of IBEC. Generally, IBEC is usually chaired by the Deputy President, where basically we normally look at the sharing of revenue between the two levels of government in IBEC. But the summit, the issue of sharing of revenue is just one item, which actually is not on the agenda today. It's going to be on the agenda tomorrow. And therefore, an upgrade of IBEC is where now this is like the Supreme Court, where beyond the summit, this issue cannot be deliberated on by anyone else, because the president chairs the summit and co-chairs with our chair, and it is the apex of all the intergovernmental negotiations in this country. And therefore, we expect the solutions that have been dogging both the levels of government in the implementation of the roles that are given by the people, by the Constitution, are going to be resolved here. And we don't expect anything that is going to interfere with the delivery of service to be there today.
Absolutely.
Especially this being a new government dispensation, we expect them to show a lot of goodwill, as well as the counties in collaboration.
Before I let you go, because there was a remark you made, obviously, talking about conditional grants, they should be deposited directly to counties. Is that a concession you're seeking in this meeting?
Definitely is one of the issues we'll be extending our negotiation on, because it makes no sense to give counties conditional grants, then you have them implemented by national government. Then what is the role of the county government? Because even the rest of the monies that mostly we use in the counties, over 90% of those resources come from the national government, and therefore they are delegated and by the constitution, and we always have structures of checks and balances in both levels.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Governor. Governor Muthomi Njoki of Tharaka Nithi speaking to us just about the conversation they're having inside this hall is where President Dr. William Ruto is leading the meeting that brings together the executive, that is the national executive. When you're looking at the president, the deputy president who chairs a very critical committee that is called IBEC, and that is the Apex committee, or the Apex structure that deals with issues that are emanating from the counties, and particularly to work with the relationship on the relationship between the national government and the county governments. And that's just generally the conversation happening here. There will be several concessions, of course, and you remember out of a conversation had last year, there's a likelihood that counties are going to get an increase in terms of the budgetary allocation that goes to counties. When you talk about the division of revenue, there's an additional about 17 billion shillings that was to be added towards county governments and to aid the operations of the 47 county governments. The conversation continues. Obviously, after the end of the meeting, we shall have a brief from the president and indeed the governors on the concessions they have had, and particularly the symbiotic relationship that exists between the county governments and the national executive. Back to you, studio.